Ever feel like you need to crank out content 24/7 just to keep your head above water? Well, get ready because today we're diving into generative AI for content creation. And trust me, this is a game changer. We're talking about AI that doesn't just shuffle words around, it actually comes up with new stuff. And to help us unpack all of this, we're cracking open generative AI v4.pdf. But don't worry, this isn't some tech jargon overload session. We're going to keep it real and break it down so you can actually use this stuff.
Absolutely. We're talking about a whole new world of possibilities here.
Especially since, get this, 80% of marketers are planning to create even more content next year. That's according to the report, by the way.
Yeah, and that's where generative AI swoops in to save the day because it can actually help us keep up with that insane demand.
Okay, so how does it actually work? Is it really as simple as like, computer, write me a blog post?
Well, not quite. It's a little more nuanced than that. Basically, generative AI uses a combination of natural language processing, or NLP, and artificial neural networks, ANNs for short, to actually understand and create content.
NLP, ANS sounds kind of complicated, but I'm intrigued.
I know, right? But it's actually cooler than it sounds. Imagine teaching a computer to understand language, not just the words themselves, but the meaning behind them, the nuances, like we do. That's NLP in a nutshell.
So it's not just spitting out random words, it actually gets what we're trying to say.
Exactly. And those ANNs I mentioned, think of them like the AI's brain, a complex network that helps it learn patterns and make connections within data, just like our own brains.
Wow, okay, so it's learning and thinking in a way.
In a way, yes. And that brings us to prompts, which are basically instructions we give the AI to guide its creative output.
So, like, we give it a creative brief, but to a computer.
Exactly. Say you're stuck on coming up with blog post ideas about, I don't know, disability insurance. Instead of pulling your hair out, you tell the AI something like, give me a bunch of catchy blog post titles, something that'll grab people's attention about the benefits of short-term disability insurance, especially for freelancers.
And it would actually tailor those titles to freelancers. That's pretty amazing.
Right. And here's the thing, even a tiny change in how you word the prompt can lead to completely different results. The report actually had this fascinating example where just by switching out a few words in an image generation prompt, like going from peaceful, calm to bright, rich, spirited, it totally changed the mood of the image.
So there's a real art to this. It's like you need to learn the AI's language to get the best results.
You hit the nail on the head. It's all about being clear, specific, and knowing what the AI can and can't do.
Prompt engineering, they call it, right?
You got it. And it goes way beyond just blog posts, too.
Right. The report mentioned all sorts of marketing stuff that generative AI can help with, which I definitely want to dig into. But first, a quick break.
I know it's easy to get swept up in all the hype, but we got to remember, generative AI is a tool, right? It's not going to magically solve all our problems overnight.
So what are its limits?
Well, one of the big ones. It can't really do original research. It can summarize what's already out there, sure, but it can't go out and interview people or analyze new trends like we can.
Right. It's like you can't expect a chef to cook a 5-star meal with no ingredients.
Exactly. And kind of like that, AI might be able to write about emotions and stuff,
Right.
but it doesn't have those lived experiences to draw on. It can't replicate that real human connection.
So it could maybe write a blog post about empathy, but it wouldn't have the same impact as someone sharing their own personal story.
You got it. That human touch, that authenticity. AI just hasn't quite cracked that code yet.
Okay, what about accuracy? Can we trust it to get all the facts straight?
That's another good question. It's super fast, yeah. But it's not perfect.
Oh.
Sometimes it might make a grammar mistake or misinterpret something, or even use outdated information if it hasn't been updated.
So we still need to double check its work, like having a super efficient assistant who still needs a bit of guidance.
Yeah, exactly. Human oversight is crucial. Think of it as a collaboration. AI can handle the first draft, the brainstorming.
Yeah.
But we're still the editors, the quality control.
It's like having a brainstorming buddy with superpowers.
Mm.
Speaking of collaboration, how can we actually use this on a content team?
Great question. First thing, don't think of AI as replacing anyone. It's more like adding someone new to the team.
Right, it's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And just like with a new team member, you got to show AI the ropes, give it clear guidelines, training, all that good stuff.
Make sure it knows how to play nice with the rest of the team. What about tracking results? Is that important too?
Absolutely. Just like with any new strategy. We got to measure how it's doing, track things like how much time it's saving, content output, engagement, all of that.
Data is king, right? Both for training the AI and for seeing if it's actually working. This has been so helpful. But before we move on, there's one more thing I want to touch on. Plagiarism. If AI is writing from existing data, how do we know it's not just copying someone else?
Yeah, I get that. It's a common concern. But generative AI, it's not just copying and pasting stuff. It's more like it's learned from so much data that it understands how we write, the patterns we use, the way we structure things.
So it's not copying, it's like learning to write like us.
Exactly. Imagine someone who's read like a million books on a topic. They'd be able to write their own stuff based on all that knowledge.
Right.
That's kind of what AI is doing.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about Google? Will they penalize us for using AI content? I've heard so many different things about that.
All right, there's a lot of noise out there for sure. But the thing is, Google cares about quality, first and foremost.
Mm.
They want content that's good, that's helpful, that's engaging. They don't really care if a human or an AI wrote it.
So it's not really about AI detection, it's about good content detection.
Exactly.
Right.
If the content is well written and all that, Google's not going to penalize it just because AI was involved.
That's good to know. But what about people using AI to, like, spam Google, just churning out tons of low-quality content?
Yeah, well, Google's pretty smart about that stuff. Their algorithms are getting better and better at spotting bad content, no matter who or what created it.
So the same rules apply. Focus on quality, and you're good.
Exactly. AI can be a powerful tool, but it's not a magic solution. We still need to use it strategically, ethically, all of that.
This has been amazing. It feels like we're on the verge of something huge with this technology. Any last words of wisdom for our listeners as they start exploring AI?
I think the future of content is exciting, and AI is going to be a big part of that. So my advice would be embrace it, experiment, don't be afraid to try new things, but also keep learning, stay curious, and never stop using your own creativity.
Great advice. A huge thank you to our expert for sharing all of these insights, and to all of you for joining us on this incredible deep dive into generative AI. Until next time, keep creating amazing content.